Hi, how are you? I'm Roberta Calacino, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in the Finger Lakes region of upstate New York. I normally come to you every Wednesday night, but I am coming to you now every night from November 20th is when I started, and I will end on December 2nd, taking Thanksgiving night off, and I'm coming to you with my annual series called The 12 Days of Christmas. So let's see, yesterday's project was relatively simple, but it was a little time consuming. So I picked something pretty easy for today. To be honest with you, I picked two things that I thought were easy for today, and the first one didn't turn out to be so easy. And while it didn't turn out wrong, I feel like it needs some tweaking. So that one might become tomorrow's instead. So tonight's video will be very short, and I'm just going to have this one very simple box, and I'll just show you how to use it in a couple of different ways and some things that you could use it for. This one would be great for table treats or office gifts or whatever in particular, just because of its size. Okay, I'm here. I'm very cold today and I can't get warm, so I'm all bundled up in my fleece thing here. Just, you ever have days like that? I think it's not that cold, but it's damp, so I'm having a hard time staying warm today. But anyway, we will turn the camera down. I'm just looking around to make sure I have all my, whatever I need, and I seem to. So we'll turn the camera down and I will get started. Okay, and then we're just gonna make those couple of adjustments that I have to seem to make all the time. There we go. Okay, so today is day 7 of the 12 Days of Christmas. I think I had that mixed up at least a couple of days. And on the agenda for today was a concertina hexagon box, which, like I said, I'll show it to you real quick. This is how it works, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that I feel like there could be an easier way to achieve it than the way I went about it. So it's kind of neat. It will hold, something tall. But I feel like it needs some work. So I'll get back to you on that one. If not during the 7 days of Christmas this time around, maybe just any time during the year. But we will be making the small, simple gift box. And if you do make a purchase in the month of November, please use this host code. If you don't understand the host codes, please let me know and I'll explain it to you. It basically allows you to it allows you to earn rewards, which are as good as cash, that you get to use immediately on your purchase, any purchase of $150 or more before tax and shipping. And you get those rewards right away. So when you're almost ready to check out, it will remind you that you have rewards and ask you what you'd like to spend them on. So it lets you get a few more things than what you thought you were going to get. But that type of reward are going away. We're going to something different, I believe, right after the first of the year. I think I've explained it this way before. It sort of reminds me of Kohl's Cash, where you will spend some money and then you will get this, it's not going to be like an actual printable certificate, but you'll get something that lets you get a discount on your next order. So kind of like you have to spend your Kohl's Cash on your next order. And the good news is, my understanding is also that this, whatever they're going to call it, doesn't expire, because I know for me, the Kohl's Cash never works out because it does expire and I never get back to Kohl's in time to spend that money. So that's kind of annoying because I don't shop at Kohl's that often, but when I do, I drop a little bit of money and I would like having that reward. Okay, so the nice thing about this project is it calls for just one piece of 6x6 paper. So if you happen to have a lot of those in your collection, this is a great way to use them. Excuse me, if you don't have 6x6 paper, then you're going to get 4 of these out of a sheet of 12x12. So no matter how you look at it, it's pretty good. All right, so basically what you're going to do is just turn your 6x6 paper. Doesn't really matter unless if it has a directional pattern, okay, then it does matter. So if it has a directional pattern, you want the pattern to be facing you and be right side up at this point, okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to score it on this side at 2 inches. You're going to score it at 2 3/4 inches. You're going to score it at 4 3/4 inches. and you're going to score it at 5.5 inches. Okay. Oops. Yeah, there we go. And then you're going to take your paper and turn it 90 degrees, and you're going to score it at 3 3/4. So if you're not familiar with our trimmer, it has 1.5 inches on the right side. So you can score it at 3/4 of an inch on this side, or you could flip it around this way and score it at 3/4 of an inch on this side. Some people find one side easier than the other. It kind of doesn't matter, whatever works best for you. All right, and then just like with most of the other projects that we make, we're going to take our bone folder and we're going to burnish. So here's what I've decided, okay? In the last couple of days when I made gift boxes, I have shown you I've made the Christmas one with you and then shown you one that I made that could be used for something else. But I already made a Christmas one. So this paper is two-sided, and this is what I really like to point out to people. If you buy this Christmas paper, let's say kind of before Christmas, and then you don't end up using it all, you think you've got to wait until next year to use it again, but you don't, because very often the other side is not Christmassy. It might be, but it might not. So there's usually some options for using Christmas paper or birthday paper or whatever it might be in different times of the year. So we're going to burnish. That's our little 3/4 of an inch thing. And then we have another section here that's very small. And this usually ends up being the glue section. I can't swear to the fact that it will always happen like that, but it's very often the case that that becomes a small glue tab. Now we've got a little bit of a span before the next score line, and that's because that's how wide our box is going to be. And then we've got another 3/4 of an inch section because that's how wide the side of our box is going to be, or how deep the box is going to be. And then we're done. All right, so what's going to happen here now is that this is going to be folded into like I said, a very simple box. But before we do that, we just have a tiny bit of cutting to do. I can see it better on this side, so I'm going to flip it over. And basically all we're doing, if I remember this correctly, all we're doing is cutting off this one little tab on the far right. Yes. Okay. Where we're at the, where we did that 3/4 of an inch fold. So we're going to cut right on the score line. And then for this, we're going to just do one of those little miter cuts again until we've cut the whole thing off. And we're just doing that so we don't have some extra bulk, okay? So at this point, oh, no, wait, one more thing, I forgot. I was like, wait a minute, then how do we get the bottom of the box? So now we're just going to cut up only to that 3/4 of an inch score line. On every score line we come across, we're just going to cut up. And we're going to stop right at that 3/4 of an inch score line. Okay, so we only have to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cuts. Now we can come in, and with this as a tab, because I want this side showing, we can use tear and tape, we can use seal, or we can use liquid glue, and you know that's kind of my favorite. The other thing that happens, and like mathematically speaking, I don't know why it happens, but it almost always does. I have to say almost because I'm never sure, is that when you put glue on a tab for a box or something, you are usually able to just fold over and do that flat as opposed to trying to hold it up and zhuzh it together while you're holding it. And then all you have to do is just make sure that the ends are lined up, that the fold and this raw edge are lined up. And then you've got your box, all right? So the next thing now is that we're going to create the bottom of our box. So some people don't bother gluing these little tabs at all, but I do like to just put a little bit of glue on them just so that they don't come loose and stick up and maybe get in your way when you're putting things in the box, all right? So I'm going to put those down, and I know that those little tabs might not hit what I need them to hit, but I'll get to that. And then I'm going to put some glue here on this flap and fold the final flap over. Now I can turn it upside down and stick my bone folder in there and just kind of do a little rub just to make sure that all of that is adhered down. Now, you might not be fussy enough to care, but if you are, and if you do, now there is like a little line here, kind of like a raw edge where we folded that over. So if you want to, if it bothers you, remember that that's there and make that the back of your box and make this the front of your box. All right, so there's no more scoring that needs to be done, but what we do is, I call this a pinch box. Some people call them a bag because when you do it, it ends up looking more like a lunch bag. You just put your 2 index fingers on either side, right in the middle of the sides, and then you take your thumb and your middle finger and just kind of push. Try to even it out as best as you can and push. You don't push down all the way, you just push down at the top. And now you've created a closure for that box and given it a little gusset. If you wanted to make it further down, you could, but then I think that might prohibit you from putting a certain amount of things in there. So now that we've gotten to this point, let me show you. This is the box that I made with the other side of this very same paper. And I used, it's Real Red and Mossy Meadow. I used a piece of Real Red cardstock, 2 inches by 3 inches. I folded it or scored it at 1.5 inches. So on the 3.5 side, I scored it at 1.5 inches. I punched holes with a 1/8 inch hole punch in both. My hole punch is losing its. I've got to open it up and empty it out. I punched holes. Yep, they're all over the place. I punched holes first in the bag and then in this, and I lined it up because this particular hole punch is just not great. It's not, and I'm not strong enough to get it done. So, oh my gosh, look at them. They're all falling out all over the place. So we've got confetti here, or we could make a shaker card. Some of the colors don't go together very well though. All right, so now I'm going to show that to you. So for this, I just used a square, well, not a square, a rectangle of paper. We used to have some really nice tag topper punches, and I don't think we have one right now. I just got the new catalog in the mail, and those of you who are customers of mine will get yours soon, but I'm not allowed to show it to you for a while yet. So this one was very plain, to say the least, and I just stamped Be Merry in Real Red ink. And the Be Merry is from this Christmas Labels set that you've seen me using quite a bit lately. Where is it? Be Merry, right there. All right, I used that, and I just cut myself kind of like a little tag, and I left it pretty plain. You could punch out or die out some greenery and have it sticking out on the top. I just chose to keep it simple. So for this one, I thought, well, all right. So I started getting things out. I thought, well, Mossy Meadows, and then this, and I thought, no, wait a minute. I'm using the gray side. That's going to be a little weird. Now, I do like gray and red together, but I don't know about the gray and green. So I went a different way completely, all right? And I got rid of the Be Merry thing because I wasn't going to use those. So I cut I'm looking here on my side. This is a 2.5 inch circle out of basic gray. This is a 2.25 inch circle out of basic black. And this is a 2 inch circle out of basic white. And I stamped it in black, Memento black ink, using the Thanks, there it is, from the Simply Said stamp set that I think I used last night too, if I remember correctly. Last night or the night before. It's just got some very nice, simple sentiments. So I decided this time that I would make my closure out of this circle because it's just about the same size as the top of the box. It may go over a little bit, but I don't think that matters. So again, I'm going to go through, well, let me think about this. Do I even need ribbon? So there's a couple of things you can do. With the ribbon, they don't have to rip your box to get it open. They can untie it if you care. If you don't care, then you can put a staple in the box, just a small staple. Or you could put this on here and staple that. And yes, they will have to rip your box to get it open. So just in case I decide to do that, let me show you some things that will fit in this box. I've got the Burt's Bees body lotion in the small size. And this, I think, is Bath & Body Works Restoration Hand Cream. They're about the same size. So they will fit in here. However, well, actually, that's not bad. I was going to say, however, it might get in the way of the closure, but that one didn't. I think this Burt's Bees one was a little bit fatter, and maybe this one caused a little bit more of a problem. No, not so much. I think it would depend on how big your topper was. So yeah, so either one of those could fit in there. Definitely not 2 of them, but either one of these things would fit in there. I'm kind of into essential oils, and I've been giving those to people as gifts. I also make my own blends of essential oils in these bottles, which they're roller bottles. I'm not making any money off of telling you this. You can get these on Amazon. I'm not an Amazon affiliate. They don't want me. I don't make enough money. So those will fit in there, and definitely 2 of them in there. And then this is another roller bottle, but this is a store-bought one, and it has lavender in it, and that will fit in there with the other roller bottle. So that's something that would fit in there. Obviously, candy will fit in there, but it would have to be flat stuff. I would say you could probably get maybe 6 Ghirardelli squares in here, like 3 side by side here or on top of each other, however you want to put it, and then 3 here. I also like these Burt's Bees Lip Shimmer, they're called. They have just a little bit of color, and they're very thin, so I could get, I'd say 4 or 5 of those in there if you were buying those for someone as a gift. If you were buying something more typical chapstick size or lipstick size, definitely you could get 2 in there. All right, so lots of different things. I think you could get some of those. I don't know if I have any in here, but like not the tube of Blistex, but the little tub of Blistex. I think you could probably fit 2 of those in here on their side. You know, you'd have to play around a little bit, but you could definitely fit some things in there. Might hold more than you realize. It could hold several of the little post-it notepads, the ones that are, what are they, 1.5 by 2.5 or something like that. Those would fit in there for sure. Those go there, these go there, and I'm trying very hard to put things back where they belong. So once you put the gift in the package, then you really could staple it. I'm honestly thinking if I staple it, then I have an empty package with nothing in it, and for me that just seems kind of silly. What I did do with the other one, just so a piece wouldn't get lost when it was taken apart, was I did glue the back, like on this one, I glued the back on. I tried to stay away from the holes or where the holes might be. In fact, I think I did the holes first, which probably would be smart, but just so that it wouldn't fall off. So I pinched it, and then I put it on the way I would want it to be, and then I just held the back on until it closed, or until it stayed glued. And again, that would be a little thing where you could just give it a little rub. Oh, I have a thought. Ooh. All right, so I've got this sentiment, which I did on the circle here. So I'm going to glue that on, and here's my idea. I could also embellish this if I wanted to, because the white's kind of plain, or I could have stamped some floral foliage or whatever, even in a gray color instead of green. I could do that. But what I could do is make this kind of a tuck closure. So what I'm doing, you just have to make it so that you can get it open. So I can glue this on here, and I have to glue it lower down, glue it on so that this can be pulled out. And yes, you'd have to bend it a little bit, but that's okay because you would only put glue on the bottom part of this. You just don't want someone to have to bend it so hard. So you want this to be sort of very close to the top. There we go. I think that would work. Let me get this to stay down first. Yep. Let me get that to stay down first. Sometimes you do need 3 hands. On occasion, I feel like I need to be an octopus to do some of the things I do. All right, so I'm going to pull that out. And then I'm going to get my bone folder. And before that falls off again, I'm going to burnish that down from the inside so that will stay. And it will. The glue is strong. Okay, so then all you'd have to do is give this kind of a gentle bend and tuck it underneath, and that could make your closure without having to put any ribbon in, without having to put any holes in it, without having to put staples in it, and that's going to hold it down. All right, I feel like this should have gone over to the right a little bit more. Kind of goofed on that one, but it's not terrible. I do feel like it's a little plain, so I could put a bow here. And maybe a nice bow to use would be this white seam binding that we used last night. So this could just be a regular bow. It's not going to be functional. It's just going to be for for cuteness, for good looks. I never leave myself enough ribbon when I make a bow, but then I'm afraid that I'm going to end up cutting off 3 inches and throwing it out, which I hate. So I try to make it really small to start with and then zhuzh it. It's possible. It just depends on if the fingers are working. And excuse my fingers, by the way, I was painting today, and not all the paint would come off of my fingers. Some of it's under my fingernails. There we go. That did work, and actually that's just about the size I was looking for. So yay me. So, all right. So now glue dots are just the best thing with bows. I take my fingernail and kind of roll it up into a little log, unless the bow is bigger, because we really don't want to see the glue dot. Very strong, but we don't want to see it. And if I put that on the bottom of that circle a little bit, then that also kind of takes up some space there. And that works kind of nicely. So there you go. And I could put some rhinestones on there if I wanted to fancy that up a little bit, for sure. So these are, like I said, they really are simple. And then as far as the decoration goes, it can be as extreme and not simple as you want it to be, or as simple as you want it to be. So you've seen one where you punch holes and thread the ribbon through, or in this case it is the new gold twisted, it's not called twine, what the heck is it called? Gold twisted, it's not called cord either. Well, I don't know where I put it, but it's called Gold Twisted something or other, and it's current in the catalog. All right, so thank you very much for joining me today. Oh, my screen's doing something funny. Okay, thank you very much for joining me today, and I will see you again tomorrow night for day 8 of the 12 Days of Christmas. And then after that, I won't see you again until Friday, because we're taking Thanksgiving off, right? So that we can eat turkey and stuffing and cranberry sauce and pie, and we even have some birthday cake at Thanksgiving most years, because my daughter-in-law's birthday is about a week before Thanksgiving, and we don't always get together for it, so we celebrate on Thanksgiving. All right, so thank you very much, and have a great night, and have a great Thanksgiving if I don't see you tomorrow night.